Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today it's my pleasure to review a special book. In fact, it's in 2 volumes and it's a supplement, believe it or not. It goes with the LexisNexis main publication on Macdonald's Immigration Law and Practice, which is a main substantive work, very much part of the LexisNexis Butterworth's house style. This is the supplement in 2 parts. I'll show them in a minute. The actual 9th edition, to which this is the supplement, was published in 2014, so it's 3 years along the line. I'm recording this in the spring of 2017. It's a 2-volume work. The general editors are Ian A. Macdonald, Queen's Counsel, and Ronan Toll of Garden Court Chambers, and there is a team of specialist contributing editors to go with it. And there's a volume 1 and a volume 2, and then there's a set to go with the work, so you can buy both of them. Although, if you're looking for the book, use the ISBN for volume 1. And that will then give you the detail. Now, Elizabeth and I talked about this book because we remember reviewing the original 9th edition. And we've given a title for our book review, Untangling the Increasingly Byzantine Immigration Rules, a definitive work of reference for immigration lawyers, now in the latest supplement to the 9th edition from LexisNexis Butterworth's. Let's have a look at the book first, the 2 volumes. This is volume 1, which is the slightly slimmer volume. There's it's paperback. There's the front, and then you can see the spine. It's not on the side, it's at the front, nothing on the back. Now, you've got an index, which again the house style, at the back. The index is based on paragraph numbering, not on page numbering. And at the front, there's the main front page. And then after that, you've got the list of contributors, a very large number of people involved in this publication. You can see them all listed. And then there's a preface, which is well worth reading. I will refer to that in a minute because they make some very strong views known about what's going on. You can see even with the basic preface, there is some footnoting going on there. Then you get into the content section itself, remembering that this is actually a supplement. Then you've got the statutes, then the table of immigration rules there. And then after that, table of conventions and agreements, and table of European legislation. As I've said, lots of comments being thrown, and then of course the table of cases. Now, after that, you see how the structure of the book is made out. You've got the chapter, and then you've basically, because it's a supplement, you've got supplementary information to go with the main work. And that's how it's run all the way through, with each of the 10 or so chapters here. Then with volume 2, that's volume 1. Volume 2 again, there's the front and the side. You still got, you haven't got what you have in volume 1, which is the index, which is only to be found there. What you've got here is well over 1,000 pages, is a lot more information because, again, you've got, there's the front page there for volume 2. Then you've got the various appendix that go with it, and this is all the new legislation and rules, if I can put it that way. In other words, not just the Acts of Parliament, but you've also got all of the regulations as well. And then that sort of runs through. Then you've got it all set out. So this is the supplement to the main work on a chapter by chapter basis, and this is all the additional information from new acts and directives and regulations. So all in all, it's read together. It's a complicated book, but there again, if you've dealt with this area of law and practice, immigration, it's a complicated subject. What do we say about it? Well, we say this: as immigration becomes ever more complex, obtaining Macdonald's Immigration and Law Practice in 2 volumes has become ever more a necessity for the immigration lawyer. And this is, of course, a supplement to go with it. This basically is the expressed view of the 2 main editor authors, that's Ian A. Macdonald, Queen's Counsel, and Ronan Toll, of what is now actually a long established and definitive work of reference. And it's fair to say that it's hardly an immigration lawyer out there who would not agree with what is being said here. And obviously this book itself has prime place of pride, probably in many immigration lawyers' chambers. Equally, it's doubtful there's any immigration lawyer anywhere who wouldn't welcome the recent appearance of this new 2-volume supplement to the 9th edition of the work from LexisNexis and Butterworths. It's obviously to go with it to update everything rather than producing, say, a 10th edition, which will come out in due course. Now, there are people who would probably have preferred to have had the 10th edition, but that's what we've got, and that's what we're using, because there are going to be changes, inevitably, and this is really where we get to the nub of what they say in the preface, because the 9th edition was published in 2014 and has now been completely updated as at February 2017, with certain later changes added. It's logically organised throughout, and it covers over 22 chapters, virtually every in 22 chapters, virtually every conceivable aspect of immigration law that you're likely to be confronted with as the practitioner. Now, as I've said, Volume 1 deals with everything from right of abode and citizenship to victims of trafficking in human beings, the latter being especially relevant to recent legislation on modern slavery, which the previous government, Parliament was dissolved recently and we have a general election, the recent government produced the modern slavery legislation, which they are very proud of. And obviously this is reflected here. And the book then goes through, for example, areas such as deportation and repatriation. And then there's a final chapter on the Special Immigration Appeals Commission. And then with Volume 2, which is the thicker one at the back, again in a paperback form, it delivers over 1,200 pages in total, consisting of 5 appendices with statutes, procedure rules, practice directions, SIs and much more. And so you're getting a complete package here of where we are at the moment. And I have to say that it's quite clear to me that there could be a lot of changes on the way. So it may well be that a new full edition will be around before too long. Now, on a slightly more negative note, which leads me nicely into this, it's noteworthy, at least in the preface, that the authors, together with the 27 contributors they're all from Garden Court Chambers, take a conspicuously dim view of current immigration law, describing the writing of this book as a miserable experience, largely because of what they term the hostile environment that the government has been creating for migrants, immigrants and refugee seekers, and all those associated with them. Now, it's a very interesting point, and it's one that certainly has developed since the general election was called and during the campaign. And I'm recording this before we know the result of the general election. However, immigration very much is to the fore, and we will have to see what the new Parliament decides to do, whoever is in power. Now, the authors then remark further that the increasingly Byzantine immigration rules make the achievement and retention of leave to enter or remain far more difficult. Well, that is the case, both procedurally and substantively. And of course that really is the nub of the problem that a lot of us are faced with. And there are many who will agree with these views, but even those who might not will nonetheless, we think, find these volumes indispensable, because we have to face the reality as practitioners of what we've got. And there's not a lot that we can do, because we're not legislators. We're not really able to do a great deal except to try to deal with the legislation produced by the Commons and the Lords. So we are a bit stuck, but at least we have these books to help us. Now let me conclude by saying that given the inherent complications and the political repercussions, and indeed the emotional sensitivities inherent in this area of law, this updated 2-volume work provides a ready source of authoritative commentary and rigorous scholarship on which lawyers, whatever their views, can rely. And here then is an essential purchase for the library of every immigration lawyer, and certainly it's something you would have, and you need to keep up to date because things are changing. So this is, as much as anything else, as a supplement, it's a noter-up of where we are at the moment. Now, the law is stated as it was on the 28th of February 2017, although there have been one or two references to later legal changes. The volumes do not deal with the latest changes in the immigration rules. That's HC Report 1078, most of which will come into force on the 6th of April 2017. So it's now in force. We have a general election, we have a new parliament in June, and then we'll see where we go from there. In the meantime, I'd like to thank both Ian A. Macdonald, Queen's Counsel, and Ronan Toll very much indeed. You can hardly see their names because it's in gold on red, so it doesn't really come out very well when you're looking. It's the same with Volume 2, but I assure you their names are there. I'd like to thank them both, and also a word of thanks, please, to both LexisNexis and Butterworths for continuing to produce these excellent books. We do actually require this sort of book to help us with our practice, otherwise it would make life so much difficult for all of us. So thank you. Bye bye.